a funny April Fool's Day.
Welcome to an April Fool's episode of the Too Old or Pure Gold movie podcast. In today's episode, we're discussing the 1986 comedy horror film April Fool's Day, aptly named. The format of our podcast, two Gen Xers rewatch beloved movies from our youth to find out, are they really as good as we remember? To help us debate and ultimately pass judgment, we ask our millennial co-hosts to watch these movies for the first time and help us determine, are they too old or pure gold? I'm your host, Olen Vanderleeden, representing Gen X. My regular Gen X co-host Matthew is AWOL this morning, so Nicole, can you act like Matthew for this episode?
Wow, asking the other gay to act like him?
Oh, my typecasting? Okay, I'll scratch that in post. Representing the millennials, we have returning co-host, comedian, and professional prank critic Josh Fleming. And representing Gen Z, we have Nicole.
The backup gay.
You're the number one gay. Matthew's the backup. Before we get into this episode, just a reminder that we need your support to grow this podcast. So please remember to like, subscribe, comment, follow us on social media, and please recommend us to a friend. Today's movie is the 1986 comedy horror April Fool's Day, starring Deborah Foreman, Griffin O'Neill, and Clayton Rohner. So no big names, no A-list names anyhow. The movie's directed by Fred Walton. Fred is generally known for the horror genre, having directed When a Stranger Calls before this movie and When a Stranger Calls Back after this movie. The tagline from the movie poster is, "Guess who's going to be the life of the party?" But there's a second tagline that I actually like better, which is "a cut above the rest." I think that's the better tagline. IMDb describes the movie as 9 college students staying at a friend's remote island mansion begin to fall victim to an unseen murderer over the April Fool's Day weekend, but nothing is as it seems. And for those of you that have not seen the movie, I asked my 93-year-old dad to watch April Fool's Day and summarize the plot. Let's see what we got.
The story tells us about a group of college students, and they're going for spring break to a secluded island. So traveling on a small ferry, there's a lot of horsing around until someone falls overboard and has his head crushed, or so they believe. But the students believe that the following events are real dangers. The events had been secretly planned by Muffy, including classic jokes like collapsing chairs, whoopee cushions, exploding cigars, leaking drinking glasses, and stage tricks like fake blood and even floating heads. Now, Muffy had also an alter ego, her evil sister, who plays a role in scaring or attacking students. In the final scene, the remaining student is chased into the living room, where all the so-called murdered students are actually happily waiting for the last person to discover the real truth. And Muffy explains it was all an experiment in preparation for her plans to turn the mansion into a resort that offers staged horror.
My dad the prankster, and him and his floating head pranks.
You guys would go down to the shop and get a floating head and just toss it somewhere, right?
I should put it in his bathtub. That would be a funny prank.
I gotta reschedule my April Fool's pranks.
Now that he's done this. Okay, so overall reaction, guys. Tell me what you thought of this movie.
I went back and forth. It was I don't know what this movie is doing. It's so weird and bizarre. I think I thought it was very mid, and then at the end I was like, okay, I think it might have been really good and fun. I'm not sure. It was very confusing.
Yeah, I really, really loved it. I didn't love the end, but I really, really loved the rest of it.
Well, okay, so for me, I'd say it's not bad for what it is. It's basically a Scream-like movie before Scream was a thing. It's that comedy horror. Not really my favorite genre, but I thought it was okay. And Josh, I had this similar journey to you. I watched it and I'm like, what is this? Like, I really didn't know what was going on for most of it. I was confused. And then I thought about it, and then the next day I actually kind of fast forwarded through a few scenes again to try to figure out what was going on. I'm like, oh, it's kind of clever. It's not bad. So
Yeah.
I did think it was good. And you'd never seen this before, right?
I have not. No, I consider myself a pretty big horror buff. I try to watch as much as possible. It kind of one I did see with a similar premise was Slaughter High, where a kid gets bullied and then they all start disappearing in however many. I think it was their 10-year anniversary or something like that. But so I was kind of expecting it to be just like that. And then but the thing that I was totally lost that everyone thought Buck was the killer. Like I was kind of like, oh, that was a sad accident, and then it wasn't until they called the police or the hospital, and then they were like, Buck's in the bed. I was like, that's who they thought was doing this whole time? Okay.
Yeah, they thought he was getting revenge for accidentally hurting himself.
That's what I mean. It was like, how is he blaming anyone else for that mistake?
Yeah.
I have to say, I kind of thought it was Muffy the whole time until, like, not even that far into it. Like, pretty much immediately after the first friend was killed, my mom, who was watching it with me, leaned over and whispered, I think it's Muffy's evil twin. She was like, it's giving evil twin. I was like, all right.
Yeah, well, she has a good grounding in horror movies, too, and there's always an evil twin in 80s horror movies, right Josh?
Yeah.
Well, yes, very much so. And that's what I halfway through kind of figured out, too, just because I was, like, kind of getting mad. I was like, no one's dying on screen. Like, what's happening here? And I was like, you're not supposed to believe people are even dead if they don't die on screen. And I was like, oh, April Fool's Day. So I kind of saw the end coming. I was on board, though. I mean, I think the twist has to start somewhere,
Yeah, I had the exact same thought because, I was like, I wish this was more scary. Like, I wish there was a little bit more gore.
Well, I think I would have liked it. I think I would have liked the ending more because the endings where all of my problems show up because I liked the rest of it so much. But I think I would have liked it more if the end had been just an April Fool's Day prank, but it wasn't. It was her testing a business venture. It wasn't actually a prank. She was just like, yeah, this is my business plan.
Well, and with that, even how she's like, well, when it is a business, don't worry, they'll all know what's going on. It's like, you couldn't have given your friends the same courtesy.
Right?
And probably a better test.
Traumatize them for life. They're going to be spending their family fortunes on therapy.
Yes.
My first dad note on this, it's an obvious dad comment, is that looked really dangerous. Like, I would say, I would not advise my kids to do that to their friends because what if somebody just grabs a knife from a drawer? They're terrified and then accidentally stab you or shoot you.
One of the girls almost died in a well.
Yes. Yeah, that's actually what I thought the twist was going to be. I thought they were all going to be joking around like, oh, funny April Fool's Day. And then, like, one of them actually would be dead. And they'd be like, uh-oh.
Oh, that would have been better.
I thought it was going to be that there's an actual murderer on the island murdering people, but they're all just trying to prank each other with whoopee cushions.
Oh my god, I would love to see that movie.
Let's write that movie.
There is, you know what, I'm realizing there's a similar one. Have you ever seen, sorry to get off topic here, but there's a movie called Tucker and Dale versus Evil. Where it's these, like, hillbilly guys, and they're just super nice guys in the woods, but everyone, that once they see them, they think they're, like, the inbred people from, like, Texas Chainsaw. And then these kids all just start accidentally dying around them, and they think they're murdering them. It's very funny.
That is good. I love the horror genre too. Well, this is in a long line of movies where I think they had the title first, and then came up with Halloween, Prom Night, Black Christmas, My Bloody Valentine. Like, I don't think there's any holidays that haven't been done yet.
I think they just wanted to cover all of them, really.
I mean, they haven't done Amazon Prime Day yet. That would be...
I would love that.
See, Matthew's missing the good jokes.
Yeah, I really loved that for once with these kinds of movies, like the ones you just listed, it really held up to the name. Like, the whole time, there were stupid pranks, and they were yelling April Fool's Day the whole time. There were whoopee cushions, there were dribble glasses, there was chairs that fell out from under people.
Yeah, I was going to say I like the pranks. I thought that there was good pranks there.
I also forgot exploding cigars were a thing. So when that guy just closed that door and that pop went off, I was like, did that guy just kill himself? What was that? And then when it went back, I was like, oh, right. I thought that was just like a cartoon thing.
That's where I know it from is Bugs Bunny cartoons, the exploding cigar. Must have been a prank in the day, but I think that's dangerous.
That sounds very dangerous.
I think you could take out an eye with that.
I'm curious how you guys feel about pranks.
It's a good question. I will say this. I love a good prank, but I'm not fond of pranks that upset people. Mm-hmm. You know, like the ones where...
Like the cheating pranks and...
The cheating pranks or the, oh, your baby just died prank. You know, that old one.
Yeah, classic.
But I like a good prank. And what's your favorite prank? Your favorite April Fool's Day prank?
I mean, whoopee cushion's always funny. I don't know. That's the thing is I love pranks, but I only like harmless pranks. If anyone gets hurt or upset, I hate it. That makes me angry.
I agree. So these pranks were good in this movie with the whoopee cushion and the dribble glass. Like this is all classic stuff. But then as soon as you start fake killing your friends and, you know, potentially get stabbed in return, it's maybe not a good prank. Although she pulled it off.
I think one prank that I hadn't seen before that I loved from this movie was the one where he was just trying to go to bed, and every time he turned off a light, it turned on a different light in the room.
That's great. Yeah, what do you need to be an electrician to prank someone back in the day?
I was going to say, I know how wiring works, and that is not easy to do. Like, that was probably, you had to call the electrician to the island, so there's a call out. There's a 2-hour charge each way. Like, that's $1,000 prank.
Well... Muffy's going to Vassar. Maybe she's studying to be an electrician.
Maybe. You know, what would have been funny is if the house set on fire because some guy tried to mess with the wiring.
Mm-hmm. What about you, Josh? How do you feel about pranks?
Yeah, I've never really been a big prankster. I'm more of like I'll joke around with people. But I just, as you were talking about yours, I had one flashback. I did this thing as a kid because I saw it in like a book or a magazine or something where I took the salt shaker and I screwed out the top, and then you put like a napkin at the very top and put pepper in there, and then screw it back on and like cut off any, and so they go to pour salt and then pepper starts coming out and they're like very confused. That's
funny.
The only one I ever think I pulled on people.
Yeah, I haven't pulled a lot. My favorite prank that I've ever pulled was in middle school, and it was with one of my friends, my best friend from middle school. We printed out probably 100 pictures of Nicolas Cage, and we hid them all throughout our classroom on April Fool's Day.
That's good.
So that anytime anyone did anything, they were like, why is there Nicolas Cage here? And it was great because it just kept giving throughout the day. Every time anyone did anything, they'd find Nicolas Cage. It was the best. We we printed out tiny ones and taped them to the tops of all our teachers' pencils, and like we just had them everywhere.
That's good.
We're finding them for weeks too.
Well, from this movie, the actual prank that I thought was a good prank that I would do on my friends was the kid that pretended to get stabbed and fell off the boat because the result was your friends jumped in the water and got all soaked in their clothes. Like, that's hilarious. That's a good prank.
Yeah, and it wasn't too traumatizing because he didn't die.
Yeah, it was a bit intense, the old pretend stab.
Yeah, it was. I will say that
the
was
old pretend stab prank.
That was a great way to start a movie, because when that happened, me and my mom were both like, "Whoa, we're starting already! Yeah. Like, this is crazy." And then it was a prank, which really set the tone for the movie.
Mm-hmm. And I actually believed it for a second, because there is one of the Friday 13th just does start like that. Just like a kid makes another kid mad and he randomly just axes them. It's like, what? Okay.
Yeah, it's like, it's unexpected, but it's believable.
And another dad comment, but the prank where he pretended to get his head crushed by the boat, that's actually really dangerous also. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, he could have got his head crushed, and then it would not have been as funny.
Well, I thought he did.
Yeah,
I mean, it looked like he did.
until the end. Okay,
That's
well,
also so mean. It's like so traumatizing.
Yes. It's gonna be a
do you
lot
guys
of
know
trauma
the
in this
origin
group.
of the holiday?
No.
No.
I would love to learn it
Okay,
though.
well, here's what. Let me read you a few things. So it's the holiday's so old that nobody actually knows. So
I love
I've got
history.
four stories of where it came from, and you can tell me which one you believe. So some historians believe it dates back to 1582 when France switched from the Julian calendar to the Gregorian calendar, and those who continued to celebrate New Year's on April 1st, as it was in the Julian calendar, instead of January 1st, became the targets of jokes and pranks, earning them the nickname April Fools. So maybe it's like daylight savings. Get up an hour late, you're an idiot. And,
Oh, it's
you know.
April Fool's again already? Oh, man.
Okay, so the next one, others link it to the Roman festival of Hilaria, celebrated at the end of March. During this festival, people dressed in disguises and mocked each other. And I noted, Josh, that Hilaria might be a great name for your next comedy special.
Hilarious, good.
Another theory ties it to the vernal equinox, when unpredictable weather fools people as the spring begins. And then the last one, we'll have to ask Daria about this. Finally, in Scotland, April Fool's Day evolved into a 2-day event, including pranks like hunting the gawk, oh my gosh, and Tally Day, where people pinned kick me signs on others.
I like the first theory the best about actually April Fools.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's probably something dumb like the one where the weather fooled people, and they're just like, April Fools.
yeah, it must be like that. Okay, so go ahead, Josh.
I was also going to say I have a vivid memory of a kid being going to school, and they printed, when none of it became a thing,
Yeah.
I remember it being in the paper on April 1st, and all the kids were like, no. This is a prank. There's no new territory.
Oh, actually,
Well, they're committed to that prank.
Yes, they kept it going. It's good.
another great harmless prank that was so funny was if anyone knows the YouTube channel Smosh, shout out to their podcast. Maybe we can get them on one day. Two of the cast members got married and they announced it on April Fool's Day. And so everyone thought it was a joke until it was like a month later and they were just like still acting married. And everyone was like, what do you mean? Is this a joke still? What's happening? It was so funny. And there's still some people who don't believe that they're actually married, but
That's really funny.
it was a great April Fool's Day prank to announce your marriage on April Fool's Day.
Okay, I have two more questions before we go to the best parts. Number one is the ending. If this had been you that had been the final person, would you be mad? Or would you be like, great prank, guys?
No, I would have been mad, but I probably
forgive her
would have,
fast.
like, once they busted out the champagne and, like, started partying, I probably would have been like, okay, and then just slowly started weeding them out of my life. Like, I don't think I would have been long-term friends with them.
Unfriend, unfriend.
Yeah. No, I'd never forgive her for giving me lifelong trauma. I think she's dead to me, and I'm suing her for emotional damages.
That's the thing, is nowadays you got a lawsuit on your hands if anyone did this
Oh,
to you.
yeah. Oh, yeah. She's going down. That family fortune, that house, that's mine now. She's dead to me.
And I'm going to make a fake murder weekend.
But by the way, Josh, you're going to the island next weekend. That house is on the island.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's worth about $10 million
Wow.
or more than $10 million. I looked it up, and it's it's on the island.
Very cool.
Should buy it for your podcast studio.
Yeah, that'd be great for our second our 2-year anniversary. I'll buy that house, and we'll all do a live read there. We'll prank each other.
We'll do we'll recreate it. One of us will be a fake murderer.
Okay, my next question, Josh, how does a murder mystery resort work?
I don't know. I'm sure they probably exist nowadays, but I guess
Well, they
you
got
would.
escape rooms, but this is different.
But then, is it going to be just her every time? Is she going to be the killer every time? Because
Right.
that's not much of a mystery. But if you make it one of the people who's paying to be there, that's either less fun for them, or they have to act, and everyone's going to know because they're not actors.
It has to be kind of like tag or flag football, right? Like everybody's, one person is a murderer, and as soon as you're tagged, you're out. Like something like that. It's stupid. I don't like it. In fact, you know what would have been fun in this movie is if we could have afterwards seen the interaction once they were, like, okay, this girl has just put a rope in the woods and dragged you by your ankle into the sky and left you hanging over a snake, and then like, haha, April Fools. I'd like to see that interaction.
Well, of all of them, that guy seemed the most likely to be like, yeah, that was a great prank, because he was involved in the stabbing prank.
That's right, and he is Biff from
I
from
know,
Back to the
right?
Future.
That was a nice surprise.
That was a nice surprise.
Well,
yeah.
I liked that, I'm blanking on his name. What was the boyfriend's name? Like the guy.
I couldn't
Chaz,
remember.
Skip, Arch.
These are great names.
No.
I'm reading from my best parts list, and I had the names Muffy St. John. Like, what a great name.
Muffy and Buffy.
Yeah.
Rob. Okay. Rob was from our last episode. He was in Leprechaun. He was the star of Leprechaun.
Oh,
Is he the guy that plays opposite Jennifer Aniston?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. Now that you say it, I remember. That's great.
Oh,
Yeah.
because
The
I
whole
was
time I was like,
that's
where do I
crazy.
know him from?
I haven't seen that movie in a long time, so I didn't peg that. But because I got the final girl in this is the final girl from Friday the 13th. That was the only one I recognized other than Biff.
Well, I don't want to talk about other movies on this episode, but Leprechaun was fantastic. We all loved it.
Yeah.
And it was great.
Well, shout out to it. Go listen to that one.
Go listen to that
To
episode.
listen to that episode, yes.
Yeah, you will. Okay, well, we might as well. We don't know how a murder mystery resort works, so let's get to the best parts. And the first thing I'm going to say is, and I mean this wholeheartedly, a weekend at a cabin with your friends. I did that a couple times. Less the pranks and the pretend murders.
Okay, before they went to bed that first night, that looked like the most fun weekend. Just
I know.
So many friends having a great time in a nice place, harmless pranking each other. They all thought the pranks were hilarious. Like, one guy fell off his chair. They were all laughing like they were just having the best time.
I know.
It
Those
made
weekends.
me like long to have a group of friends that I could hang out with like that. It
Yeah.
just looks so fun.
There's nothing like it. I had a number of trips like that when I was in my 20s. Always fun.
Yeah, no, I wasn't even thinking about that. But even you just talking about it right now, I was like, oh, that would be so nice right now.
Yeah, even the trip on the ferry over, didn't they look like they were having a great time? Nice sunny day, you're on the ferry, and it's just you guys, tricking your friends into jumping off the boat.
It really did genuinely look like the most fun, and they all seem like they're having such a fun time.
Right.
And it leads me into my next part. Other than what Muffy did, we're gonna exclude that in all my good parts. It looked like they all had like a really healthy, genuine friendship. They all really cared about each other. They liked each other. They had the emotional intelligence to be like kind when they needed to be, and then they were just goofing around having a good time. Like, they seemed like a really solid friend group.
Good point. I like it.
Yeah.
I like it. I had the house's best part, because that house is beautiful.
House was nice.
Although I have to say, on worst parts, sorry for jumping back and forth here, she did not take care of that house.
No.
If that was my daughter that I'd willed that house to, and I was watching her from beyond, pouring champagne on the floors and fake blood on the floors and letting her friends kick doors in.
Oh, well, her dad was still alive. It was her first stage inheritance, so she was getting it before the rest of the inheritance.
How rich was her dad?
I don't know. That was one of my worst parts, is her being able to get that house's first stage inheritance. Like, that's just a little something to get you started. But another best part I have, a little bit of a silly one.
Yep.
Magazine quizzes. So fun. I wish my friends wanted to do magazine quizzes. It's just such a fun time.
That is not something I've ever done with my friends, but
Didn't it look fun? They were all just like
now that you mention
silly
it,
little chat while they're making dinner.
it does seem fun. I'm just so focused on like murder gags now. Like I'm thinking back to all the parties and get-togethers I've had and thinking, did I not entertain properly because I didn't pretend to murder people?
Gotta step up your game.
I mean, I'm not the best entertainer, but I like people to have a good time.
Right. It's
They did seem
memorable
like
for
they were-
sure.
Well, that reminds me. Me and my mom both are one of our favorite like pranks to do, which we don't do anymore, is to just like hide behind doors and jump out and scare people. And just like scaring people for a second, which some people might think is mean, but we think it's funny. But we've had to stop doing it because host of this podcast, Mr. Olen Vanderleeden, had to sit us down and say, you need to stop because I'm actually going to have a heart attack if you keep doing this.
Yeah.
Like, I'm genuinely going to have a heart attack if you keep doing this because you keep scaring me so much.
Me and my
true
sisters sometimes reminisce about how we used to do it specifically to my grandpa all the time. And we like think back, we're like, oh my God, like we were horrible to this old man who, yes, could have just like dropped dead at some point or jumping around a corner at him.
That is hilarious.
Yeah. My mom used to always wait until my dad was walking in front of the car and then honk the horn. And that one made him genuinely upset, so we stopped that.
She does worse. She'll make me check the oil and honk the horn.
Jeez.
But the best part is that she howls. Like, it's the funniest thing in the world to her.
Well, that is true. Okay. Other best parts, I like cat eyes behind a painting. The eyes behind a painting in a horror movie is great.
Yeah, I was trying to
Classic
figure out
trope.
how they were doing that, yeah.
I was
the
too,
old
and it
clock,
was pretty
yeah.
clever.
I just loved that it was so jam-packed with silly little pranks. Like, the whole first hour was just like, prank, 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 prank.
Yeah, I really appreciated it. I kind of thought it was going to be throughout the movie, and I was going to get a little tired of it, but when they just did the montage with the whole bunch in a row, I was like, oh, this is actually a really good way to do this, I think.
Yeah. Yeah, I thought, like you, Josh, I wasn't sure I liked it as I was watching it, but once I was done and kind of thought about it, I thought, yeah, it's actually pretty clever. It might be a good, like, second time watch.
Yeah, I agree.
Although then you know the ending.
Right.
Other thing I had on best parts was a double surprise ending, because I didn't expect the second ending to that, which I thought was pretty nice.
Yeah. I was kind of
I
hoping
did
it was
like-
real, honestly, but, whatever. I guess she gave her
Right?
the trauma back was nice.
That's back to what I was saying before. This movie would have been great if there was an actual murderer. Like, behind the scenes, have the exact same plot of this movie, but then have an actual murderer. Like, where did Muffy go?
Yeah. I'm sad that there was not a single murder and it all turned out to be fake. But I do appreciate that it shocked me so much. Like,
Yeah.
I appreciate that it was so unexpected. Like, I would have expected there to be at least one murder, but there wasn't.
Yeah, and you know what? Even talking about it now, realizing that kind of does make it stand out from like a regular horror movie. It's like
It does.
Yeah.
Yep. It does. So I think it
very
was
unique.
a valiant effort. I did want to ask though, like, do you guys think you could tell a rubber head from a real severed human head?
definitely
In
an
the
'80s
80s?
one. Yes.
I think that was a miss.
Well, to be fair, they were also floating in the water, and I don't think she picked them up.
Right.
She was in a dark, dirty well with
That's
no
true.
light.
That's very true.
How did she know they were going to climb down into the well?
Because she shut off the water.
That wouldn't make me climb in a well. I would just be thirsty.
Maybe she didn't think they were going to climb into the well. Maybe she thought they're going to lower the bucket down and it's going to like hit something. And they're going to be like, what's down there? Oh, it's a head.
Well, I got to hand it to her for pulling this off because I think a lot of those could have gone very wrong.
Oh, so wrong.
Yeah.
I mean, Nikki almost died in that well when she fell down the well.
It was not a safe environment. I
No.
think we all agree.
Although that
Definitely
does
not.
lead me to another thing I really loved. Strong, independent women. They were all very brave. None of them were like, save me.
That's true.
They were all good characters.
Yeah.
It
Not,
also
not
leads
very many
to-
tropes of women in this movie. That's nice.
Yeah.
No one tripped. They were all fully dressed. It was great.
I had on my worst parts related to this. They all make bad choices. So, like climbing into a well, I really think, like if the water shuts off, like you called an electrician to come over to change that wiring. Call a plumber too. Right? Okay.
Yeah. Even if the water comes out of somewhere it's not supposed to, at least it's running then.
I also had on worst parts the idea that kid couldn't escape from the locked closet in the end when he's like, let me out. I could have got through that door, no problem.
I mean, when you're so scared, I understand not realizing that there's a lock at the top of the door when you're just like terrified.
And I can't believe we haven't talked about this yet, but in the list of murders, and I have this in worst part, the boner murder.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was
Like,
weird choice.
That's a weird choice. Yeah.
Very weird choice.
Yeah. I didn't say my best parts. I would say, you know what, one I really loved was the creepiness dialed up right at the right point once you realize Buck wasn't behind it or whatever. Once they find those like dolls in the attic and stuff, and the music change, I was like, "Ooh, this is starting to get good." That's when I started coming around on it. And then the performance between the two lead girls, when right before you find out it's fake, with like her being crazy and the other one being terrified, I was like, "This is good horror movie acting right here." Like, I thought it was a really good scene.
Really solid.
Yeah.
Yeah, for a relatively unknown cast, I thought they did a great job.
Honestly, that, like, the final couple that was standing, I loved them. Like, the acting was great, the characters were great, the relationship was great. Really, they had a really good, healthy relationship, which I always appreciate.
Actually, nice subtle touch too. When she walked into the room in the final scene and opened the doors, and everybody pretended like she wasn't even there. Like, I thought that was a nice touch too.
That
like,
was the weirdest thing to me. Is like, if they would have been sitting there and been like, "Oh, April Fools" or whatever, I could understand. But they were like, it was like they were waiting in a lobby. They're like, "Oh, is that still happening over there? Oh, interesting."
I thought, especially because it had like a weird lighting over it, I thought it was like that was what Muffy was seeing, and that it was gonna like cut, and they were like laying there all dead.
Yeah, I really,
Like,
yeah.
Because she was like horrified, so I thought, oh, they're all dead, and it's just like, this is what Muffy's seeing. All her friends having a good party.
I thought she was dead already.
Yeah,
Like,
there was
I thought like she's just dropping into this party, and that she ended up being the only one actually killed.
Yeah, no, I legit for a second was like, "Oh, did this all happen in her mind?" And she, like, they're still on the first moment they were in the house. It was very, it was. I guess that's confuses the viewer on purpose. You know, that contrast there. But
I guess she would also be confused like that.
right,
so.
yeah.
Okay. Any other worst parts you guys want to add before we move on to lines?
Oh man, yeah. I would double down on the don't do pranks that will emotionally scar people for the rest of their lives.
This is good advice.
Yeah.
Yeah, most of my bad points are like, wow, traumatizing your friend for life, not caring about their feelings, being a psychopath. Those are all bad things. I didn't love the ending, but I do appreciate that it was something special and different. My other worst part. Did anyone else notice that the forest floor was made out of fabric?
I missed it, but I love catching stuff like that.
You saw someone step on it, and I was like, oh, they're stepping on a blanket.
Okay, how about favorite lines? Did you guys pick up on anything that you thought was worth noting?
Let's play hide the sausage.
Yeah.
It reminded me of Drag Race. There's a drag queen who does a Britney Spears impression, and she says, my favorite game to play is hide the cucumber, because I always win.
Yeah, that was nice. And like, oh man, for an 80s, movie that easily could have went into super aggro homophobic territory, and I was really happy that they didn't. They were just kind of,
Yeah. No,
That was another one of my good points.
Yeah, that was like very surprising and refreshing to see in an 80s movie.
And they were all like so secure in their masculinity.
Yeah.
They were comfortable hugging their bros and like pretending to kiss them and being like, oh, let's cuddle. I love you, bro.
Yeah, no, that was awesome.
Actually, now that you guys are talking about it, I wish I could go to that party. It really looked like a fun weekend, minus the murder pranks.
Yes.
Everyone seemed like really cool.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I did, but I like that you brought that up because I did really love that they were all like secure in their masculinity and not homophobic.
Yeah, no, that was very nice to see from a movie
Shocking.
from this decade. Yeah.
So I didn't get a lot of lines from this, but I think that there's one fun one, and I think there's one classic one from this. Nicole, did you pick up any of the lines?
My only other line I wrote down was your fly is open and your hostess Twinkie is hanging out. But I like that was followed by a sneaky forehead kiss.
I think the classic line is, Muffy hasn't been in an institution for 3 years. She's been at Vassar.
Same thing.
And because of my sense of humor, I nearly crapped my pants. And he's like, what do you mean nearly?
Oh.
I was there.
That was really funny.
That's good.
Okay, well, you guys want to hear how this movie did?
Yes, please.
Yeah, I do.
Do you think it was successful?
No.
I think it was mediocre.
Okay, well, I think you're right. According to Box Office Mojo Worldwide, April Fool's Day was the 65th highest earning movie at the box office in 1986. It didn't beat Top Gun. Top Gun was the leader at the box office in 1986. And it was beat by Ferris Bueller's Day Off, Cobra, and two older Pure Gold favorites, Pretty in Pink, Running Scared, and Gung Ho. All beat it. It was even beat by Soul Man.
Ooh.
That's offensive.
That's the real prank that hurts the most.
See, that movie is the exact opposite of this one. That was a shitty prank. It wasn't a complete failure, though, because it beat out Blue Velvet, Quicksilver, and Highlander. All good films.
It's sad that, whatever the blackface movie's called, Soul Man. It's sad that did better than any of those movies.
Yes. Yeah,
Soul Man
really
did
sad.
surprisingly good. Go listen to that episode, everybody. It's hilarious. Out of Africa was the best picture winner this year, and yes, I'd rather watch April Fool's Day than Out of Africa. The budget of this movie was $5 million. What do you think it made?
7.
I was going to go with 15 was going to be my guess.
Made 12. You guys are in the right zone. It made $12 million. Just to put it in context, Scream, which was made in 1996, which I think is sort of a similar theme, made $173 million. So somehow Scream perfected the formula.
Yeah, Wes Craven nailed it a second time in his career.
Yep.
Yeah.
So let's see what critics and audience really thought of this and go to the Rotten Tomato score. Nicole, you get to go first.
I think like a 58 or a 50 and a 58.
50 and 58. Okay. Josh, what do you think?
I'm going to say a critic score of, I'm going to say critic score at low, 40. And I'll say audience score, 70.
Okay.
There's less competition this time. I have more of a chance than I usually do.
You
It's
do.
just you and me head
Well,
to head.
Yeah.
You did really well. I think our listeners know that the lowest score is the better score. So it was critics 58, kind of surprised me, better than I thought, and audience 48, kind of surprised me, a little lower than I
wow.
thought.
If I had stuck with my original,
You
that
were-
would have been nuts.
I was so ready to write the 0 down there, but
Yeah.
you ended up with a score of 18, and Josh, you're 40. Both
Yeah.
respectable scores, but you really overestimated the audience.
I really
I'm gonna
thought
be
the
thinking
audience
about
would have
that.
came around on it. Interesting. That's
and I mean, in the 80s, we didn't have as much to watch. This is not bad for the 80s. I always tell people in the 80s, if there was a movie, we went to see it. That's kind of how it worked, right?
Right.
And I don't think I would have walked out of this saying I wasted my $5, which is what it would have cost.
That's sad.
Okay, some
for
movie
me.
trivia for you guys. I already said it was filmed in Victoria. This one is interesting. At the film's beginning, Griffin O'Neill, the Skip character, is blamed for a prank turned accident that leaves a ferryman disfigured, right? Mm-hmm. In a bizarre case of life imitating art, O'Neill was indicted on manslaughter charges the following year for a drug-induced boating mishap that resulted in the death of Francis Ford Coppola's son, Gian Carlos Coppola.
No way.
Can you believe that?
The actor was actually involved in a boating accident?
Yeah, he killed someone.
That's crazy. And that it was Francis Ford Coppola's relative?
Son.
That's a son. Wow, that is...
And it was 1
Insane.
year after this.
Wow, that is crazy.
Foreshadowing.
Yep.
That's crazy.
The film had an alternate ending at one point. In that ending, Muffy is left to believe she's alone on the island. Skip bursts out of a closet and cuts Muffy's throat. She screams only to have the rest of the characters thought to be gone enter the room laughing. They pranked her back.
I would have liked that more than just the one girl pranking her alone in her bedroom.
Yeah. I didn't understand that the rest of the people were there, because I was like, why did they all of a sudden talk to the viewers? They were direct eye contact into the camera, it's but that makes sense that everyone else was around. I'm glad she got something in the end.
Woke or joke? Should we just give this movie the thumbs up for woke or joke? Because we've been talking about it and they pretty well represented here.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah, it was way
yeah.
better than most things at the time.
Yeah,
You know,
thumbs up.
that's a real positive because we've done 45 movies now, and I think there's only been 2 or 3 that didn't have something from the 80s.
Yeah, I almost always have something to say because the 80s wasn't a great time for minorities.
The 80s
we were
sometimes.
offensive bunch. Yes, we were. Okay, well, however you guys felt about the movie, I promise you there's others out there who liked it more or less than you. So for this movie, there were 16 10-star reviews out of 190 reviews. So here's just a few samplings. This movie really had me scared for a moment. Then the ending, where everything is okay, had me laughing. It was definitely a what the fuck moment at the end, but I definitely enjoyed it.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with the statement.
Okay, how about this one? This movie is so typical all the way through, and then bam! They let you in on the prank. It's all fake. That's what makes this one of the all-time best slasher movies. What other movie can you remember that has all the Jason-type atmosphere minus the gore, in the end pays off like this one? I've seen hundreds of these types of movies and not one where the entire cast is so likable and hilarious. Fabulous movie.
That's a good point. They were all likable.
Yeah,
like even the guy who was like even Chaz, who was kind of the, that guy of the group. He was still kind of likable.
Yeah, that's a good point. I feel like that's one of these things that some of these older movies do well, like Die Hard with all the memorable henchmen and stuff. Like there is a very everything. Like I'm gonna remember this movie for a long time. I feel like
Yeah, if you focus on the the minor characters, you can really do something good in a movie. I think we've learned that. One last one. Loogie says, well, I enjoyed this film mainly because I was in college. When I put the video on, I was living with 4 girls, and who are they going to grab during the frightening parts? So there you go, woke or joke, Loogie's a pervert.
I expect that from someone who chooses the name Loogie.
Well, now let's hear from people who liked it less. There were only 7 1-star reviews compared to the 16 10-star reviews. This reviewer says, I, for one, was disappointed with the stupid ending and no real gore, no sex scenes, a lot of swearing, very little violence. I give the movie credit for going a different direction. It
was unique.
Didn't go for those easy wins.
That's the thing, and I was kind of like, oh, yeah, like I said during the watch, like I was like, oh, I can't believe they didn't put lots of effort into killing anyone. But I feel like the explanation of it being fake explains that away, so it doesn't upset me.
Also, he said no sex scenes. Clearly, he wasn't paying attention.
Right.
Because
He means...
I don't know what was happening in that sex scene, but I couldn't tell whose limbs belonged to who.
Yeah, it looked like she was trying to put a triangle choke on the guy.
It was confusing.
That was jujitsu. No, that's why he said no sex scenes, because he thought that was jujitsu.
Good old naked jujitsu.
And ended up snapping the poor guy's wiener off, too, so... Okay, two more 1-star reviews. So... The execution was truly awful. The April Fool's jokes were lamer than a man with 2 broken legs. It's a slasher film without any halfway decent slashings. The actors were ugly and wooden. I disagree. The effects were amateur. They were meant to be. The plot twist was easily spotted. All this makes it the worst slasher movie I've ever seen. And it's only because of the Olsen twin movies that this film is not the worst film of all time. Wow, throwing them under the bus, that's not kind.
Harsh.
Was one of his reasons for the movie being terrible that the actors were ugly?
Yeah, there's always reviewers like that.
How does that have anything to do with the movie?
And this last one was funny to me. It might only be funny to my generation, but this reviewer calls it the James Taylor of 80s horror movies.
I like that it's like a short and sweet review, though.
So Siskel and Ebert, we got skunked. They did not review this movie on their show, but Siskel did review it for his Chicago Tribune column, and he gave it a lukewarm reception. He criticized its lack of genuine scares compared to other slasher films in the era. I would think they would have given it a bit of credit for being different. Okay, do you think this deserves a remake, prequel, or sequel?
Well, I know that there is a remake.
There is. There's 2 of them.
Oh, I did not know that. I only knew there was like a 2006 one or something like that. But...
2008.
Okay,
and to put it in context, it's an 18% on Rotten Tomatoes.
Awesome.
I mean, I knew it was like direct to DVD, so I assumed it wasn't very good. But yeah, I think this would be a nice rehash. You could probably do this concept well again. And I mean, if you're gonna commit to the fakeness, you could technically do all the gore and stuff and just explain it as fake blood after the fact.
I think the genre is very popular now, you know, like the Knives Out and what.
No, I don't think it needs a remake. I think it's aged well and it holds up. Like it's so good the way it is. And I also think sequels wouldn't work because the shock surprise gag kind of only works once. The only way they could do a sequel is if it's like a revenge sequel where someone actually gets killed because they're taking revenge on her.
One of the traumatized people actually goes after. That would be great.
That would be great. And I also like my idea to do this whole film exactly the way it is, but actually have a maniac loose. Like that boat captain, there's no way that he would have been like, sure, I'll do a prank with you and your teenage friends. Like that's that's a bit suspect. He should have been a killer. He should have been like, I hate kids.
Yeah, this is my chance to get away with murdering a whole bunch of them.
Yeah.
I saw him as like her fun uncle. Like he's been her ferry captain her whole life. So I see him as just like, all right, I'll help you out.
Yeah.
Well, I think we've done a good job on this film, and this was a really fun discussion. But let me ask you guys, is this movie too old or pure gold?
I mean, I'd give it a pure gold. I think if you're a horror fan, for sure, you should check it out.
It is pure gold. I think it would be a good, on your note, I think it would be a good starter horror movie for people who want to get into horror movies, because it wasn't that scary, and it was like, you know, it's a good watch for someone who wants to watch a horror movie but can't handle all the gore and scares.
Right. And, well, even lots of those bad reviews, I feel like they were, like, from the eyes of someone who saw, like you said, like Scream and was expecting those kind of movies. Like, this is from 86, before all that stuff came out.
Well, 1-star reviews, I mean, I always say, I don't think, there's very few movies that actually deserve like 1 out of 10, right? So I always think the 1 stars are just angry people. So,
yeah,
you know, they're usually bitter about something stupid.
Projecting. But yeah, I think pure gold.
Pure gold. I'm gonna call it pure gold because the movie was fun and talking about it was fun. This was a great episode. I'm glad we persevered, even though Matthew is in rehab. Where's Matthew? I don't even know. Matthew is down on Hastings and Maine trying out his fake knife prank to see how that goes over.
I was going to say, he's on the island enjoying a murder mystery getaway.
Matthew would be the ferry captain. If we were recasting this with us, he would be the ferry captain.
I don't know about that. He seems like a Chaz to me.
Josh, thanks for joining us. You're always fun. I love your laugh. I love your comedy. People should check it out. Where can they find you?
I'm Real Funny Josh on all the stuff. Instagram. I guess I'm still on Twitter technically. Or you can. I have a podcast as well. Absolutely Obscure podcast with Josh and Rory, and we review movies no one's heard of. It's a lot of fun.
And it's a great podcast, so people get out there, support podcasts, support comedy. Go see Josh, listen to Josh, and we love having you on here. Thanks for making the time.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it. It was a lot of fun.
See you, buddy.
See you.
Bye.
We'll see you for the Star Wars episode, May the 4th.
Cannot wait.
Yeah,
I can't either.
You're gonna be in for a surprise because I got a hater on the cast. See you, Josh.
Bye.
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 Buddy.